You like trades? We've got your trades. That and a first look at the re-entry draft next on The Daily. Welcome to The Daily for Tuesday, December 4th with Andrew Wiebe. I'm Jason Segini. 7 trades on Monday, getting the week off to a big start. And you guys mentioned it yesterday. Real Salt Lake was going to be a big mover. They were. They made a bunch of deals, cleared a lot of cap, which Garth Lagerwey told you guys on Extra Time Radio yesterday was the big mission.
Yeah, he said he had to clear 25% of that cap just to get under. Now, they did more than that. Jameson Olave and Fabian Espindola going to New York for allocation money, and then Will Johnson headed up to the Pacific Northwest with Portland. But the big message from Garth Lagerwey was this: look, we know we need to score more goals. He listed off time after time over the past few years where that's really scuttled their chances to get a trophy. Now they've got a little cap space. Now they have a chance to go after some of those special players, and that's exactly what it appears they'll do. They'll go after guys that can put the ball in the back of the net, but that is not necessarily forwards, he said.
You can listen to that full interview with Garth Lagerwey on Extra Time Radio at MLSsoccer.com/extratime. You can also get it on iTunes or Buzzsprout, as always. Now, a couple of these teams that benefited from Real Salt Lake's moves, the New York Red Bulls, they get Olave and Espindola. They also went out and got Kosuke Kimura in a little bit, I guess that, of all the trades that happened yesterday, that might have been the one that left people scratching their heads.
Yeah, a little bit interesting, and mostly because there was a trade chip included that I don't think we've seen before here in MLS. They traded for the homegrown rights to Brian Gallego, a sophomore center back at the University of Akron. He is going to Portland, was an academy product of the Red Bulls, Caleb Porter being reunited with him. Of course, he is not yet signed, so we'll see where that one goes. But on the New York side, yeah, now they've got some reinforcements. Fabian Espindola joins up top. Jameson Olave, can he stay healthy and really make that back line perhaps one of the best in MLS? But they've got to jettison some cap room now. Kenny Cooper rumored to be moving on. Sebastian Letou with an uncertain future. A lot of guys on that cap, and I do not think we've seen the end of New York's moves in the coming weeks.
All right, another team that we talked about making some moves. Portland is getting into the act. We talked about Kimura shipping out. They ship out Eric Brunner as well to the Houston Dynamo. Caleb Porter really trying to get some pieces together, make this his team. They bring in Michael Harrington along with Will Johnson.
Yeah, Michael Harrington and Will Johnson, 2 veterans of this league who both, I think, can fit into the style of system he wants to play. Harrington fell out of favor a little bit in Kansas City, but that's not to do, I don't think, necessarily with his skill set. I think Sestanovic, Chance Myers, they just had better seasons the last 2 years. That's why they're in the lineup. He'll be a big addition for them. And Will Johnson, his value can't be overstated. He's going to come back in there. You'd expect him to battle with Diego Chara and Jack Jewsbury in the back of that midfield. I'd put my money on him to earn a starting spot up there in Portland.
All right, and one last trade to mention. Atiba Harris reunited with Oscar Pareja, who was one of his coaches in Dallas during probably Atiba Harris's best time. So he's traded from Vancouver for an international roster spot. We found out yesterday the full list of players headed into the re-entry draft on Friday. Remember, the re-entry draft, 2 stages. In the past, we've seen some big names go, including Juan Pablo Angel. Most of the names, though, go in the second stage of the re-entry draft. The first one, if a player is picked, that means that team is going to give him a bona fide offer, taking him basically at or about the salary that he was at. So the reason these players were not re-signed by their teams, for the most part, is that their value is under the money that they're making. So, Andrew, if we're not expecting a ton of players to be taken in this first round, there are a lot of big names out here, so guys who can help somewhere down the line. Let's take a look at it by position. You look at the goalkeepers. Kevin Hartman, Will Hesmer have to stand out here. 2 goalkeepers with MLS Cup experience.
Yeah, actually 2 guys that stand out for me. You said it in Hartman, but I think Hesmer's injury issues pushed out by Andy Gruenbaum, but the real setback for him this year was on the injury front. And then Kyle Reynish, he's a guy that maybe has a cap number that people will be interested in this first round one. We'll have to wait and see on him, but I think he and Hartman are the 2 to look out for in this group.
Yeah, I agree. For me, Reynish is the guy who I think would be taken in round 1 out of all the players. Looking at the defenders, a ton of CONCACAF national team representation here. You look at the Jamaican Shavar Thomas, Tyrone Marshall, Gonzalo Segares, and Rodney Wallace from Costa Rica on this list. list. So plenty of players here. Marvell Wynn, another big name.
Yeah, Marvell Wynn, a guy that I think you're looking at in the second round as well. He's got that veteran contract. I think teams will want to have the opportunity to at least sit down and talk with him. But you mentioned Gonzalo Segares. I think some in Chicago wondering maybe why he was let go. Certainly one of the better left backs in MLS over the past few seasons. We'll have to see what happens with him. But a guy you didn't mention, a U.S. Youth International, Ike Opara, he's one with potential. Now, can he get healthy? Can he be around for a full season to develop? I think somebody will take a flyer on him in this draft.
Looking at the midfielders, you have some interesting names, including the only designated player on the list, Julian de Guzman.
Yeah, his cap number, as we've said, is just far too large for FC Dallas to absorb at this point. Now, he improved when he headed south after a few years in Toronto. That up and down for sure. So we'll see if someone brings him back. That probably comes down to Julian. Where does he want to be as far as salary goes, and can he find some middle ground with a team somewhere in MLS?
Yeah, and I mentioned some of these players maybe re-signed by their team before the deadline on Thursday. John Thorrington, one of the players in there, I think Vancouver definitely interested in bringing him back if they can get him to sign at a lower number. Looking at the forwards, this is where maybe some of the biggest names are. Juan Pablo Angel back here, Alejandro Moreno, but Connor Casey, the big name that everybody was talking about when he was let go by Colorado.
Yeah, and he has those health issues as well. He improved at the end of the season in Colorado. It just wasn't going to work out. It was time for his era to end there. But if you're a team looking for a big body up front, the Philadelphia Union come to mind, perhaps DC United. He's a veteran presence, and if you can get him at the right number, one that doesn't hamstring you in other moves down the line, he could really be a nice veteran presence up top for some team looking for a little bit of punch.
One other interesting name on this list, because I think a lot of fans maybe forgot about him, Chad Barrett was loaned out to Norway by the LA Galaxy. They go on, win a championship, come back, and now Barrett finds himself in the re-entry draft. So that's all we have for the Daily today. Don't forget Extra Time Radio. You can get that on Buzzsprout, iTunes, or Stitcher Radio. You can always listen to it on Sirius Satellite Radio or on MLSsoccer.com. We'll be back with plenty more on the Daily tomorrow.